We are set, Councilman.
Okay, you're all set. Okay, Councilman McAllister, you live? Councilman McAllister? There he is. Okay. Okay, Councilman Howard, I see you. Good. Okay, let the record indicate it is 5:11 p.m. and the Warwick City Council Finance Committee is called to order. I need acceptance of the minutes from the meeting on December 7th, please.
Favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion for favorable. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, first item number 1, and it is found on page 1, HVAC maintenance and repairs for city-owned buildings. There's Attorney Walsh. Hi, Christy.
Hi.
Okay, go ahead.
Public Works is requesting an increase to the bid for HVAC services that has expired on August 29th, 2020. There was one bill that was presented to me. We verified that it has not been paid. It should have been paid under the previous contract in the amount of $552. So we're requesting to increase the cap $552 to pay this final invoice.
Christy, I'm a little confused on this bill because the one that we had paid back in October, which was also a missed invoice, that one was dated on August 25th. And it was very detailed, even including the billing, bill 2 information was very detailed, the description of what was done. While I do have a question on the detail, it was also detailed. This one that we're looking for now, which also was missed, goes back to May 21st, 2020. So how is it that these invoices got missed? I mean, the one from August was missed, and then his one 4 months or 3 or 4 months before that one, and that was missed. How are these missed?
Well, I wish I had I can't speak for how the vendor bills. Unfortunately, we've had to request multiple times through this vendor to please get us the bills for what we owe them. I think at this point we're on a much better track, but this was before this bill. These bills were before we had this very long conversation with this vendor about getting us their bills in a timely manner. This one bill just fell through the cracks, and they presented it to us, and we did verify that it had not been paid. So we are requesting to pay this invoice at this time.
Also, I see most of these other invoices that we have in the package all have a timestamp of when they were received. This one does not have a timestamp on it. Do you know why that wasn't stamped when it was received, or when it even was received?
So the ones with the stamp on it, those came from purchasing. I mean, those were received by purchasing on that date with the stamp. This one in particular came to me via email through purchase. Actually, it's a very weird situation, but one of the girls that's down in purchasing right now that's actually works in our department sent it to me via email, which is why there's no stamp on this.
So it's kind of an odd procedure that has been taking place, at least with this vendor.
There's nothing, I can assure you that there is nothing going on, like, there's nothing behind the scenes kind of stuff. It was just this vendor is a kind of like a one-man show. So he doesn't do his billing like right away, like most vendors would. Fortunately, this is one of the ones that was missed.
Also, he's charging for 6 hours of labor. The only description we have here is Warwick Police found that RH-13 leaking by returned air set point manually added pressure to the system. And he charges for 6 hours of labor. Is there any, especially now that I know that, they're a little, how would we say, disorganized with their paperwork and their billing procedure. Is there any question about 6 hours to do what little description we have on this thing?
So the building maintenance or the facilities manager calls and verifies. We usually get a like a repair order of sorts. I don't know what exactly they call it, but it's kind of like a repair order, which is separate and apart from the invoice, but it's how we're billed. So this was something that had gone through the building maintenance division for a repair. They had called the other bills that you see, they're more detailed because they have parts on them. This one was strictly just a labor issue. No parts, no refrigerant, no, none of that. So that's why.
Yeah, it just seems like a lot of labor for, what minimal description they have on it. That's almost a whole day's labor to return an air set point and check a leak.
I don't know much about HVAC, so unfortunately, I really couldn't tell you if that is normal or not. I depend on the division chiefs if I have questions and say, hey, are we good with this? They say yes or no, or,
Okay, so the division chief is good with this?
yes.
Who's the division chief?
Jim Owens.
Who is it?
Jim Owens.
Jim Owens, okay. And you're good with the other one as well, the one for 1,423?
That one we're not requesting payment. That was already settled previously. We're only asking for this one for $552.
No, I understand it, but it's in the package, so I'm just confirming that this was also approved by the division chief.
Yes, as well as the council.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Do we have any questions from members of the public? Are there any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion, please.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Christie. Next item is found on page 11, pipe fittings and valves.
I'm presenting this bid on behalf of the Water Division. They're requesting to award this new bid for the purchase of pipe fittings and valves in the amount of $50,000. The bid will be January 25th, 2021 to January 24th, 2022. And this bid was broken down by item because it is less expensive for the city to purchase that way than to lump with just one or two vendors.
Okay, for the record, we need to assign this PCR 122-20, please. And thank you for the comments, Christie, on the multiple vendors. There are a lot of them. I did go through these numbers. There's a couple things that I could certainly question on tie sales, why? Because it's just nickels and dimes, but I'm not, because there's a couple of items over there. There is a significant difference for the pots. So my question is, on those particular pots that are such a difference, do you use many of those pots? If I remember correctly, I think it was like 300 and some bucks cheaper than the rest.
I have to be honest with you. I really can't answer that question. I've only been helping out the water division because they're
Okay.
short-staffed. So since July, mid-July. So I don't really know a lot of what they require. I mean, they could purchase in volume or not. The research that I did looks like they've spent almost $5,000 on the previous bid. However, I'm not sure if that is entirely accurate because I don't have a whole year's worth of documents to look at. So kind of flying by the seat of my pants on
Sure.
this one.
Okay. Is Terry on board?
No, Terry wasn't available, so that's why I was presenting this for him.
Okay. Members of the committee, any comments, any questions? Councilman Howell?
Mr. Chairman, at first I can understand the situation that Chrissy's been put in. So I agree with you. I'd like to PCR this because I also have some questions concerning purchase and openness, going on the standard that was set 4 years ago of not going with numerous vendors. Understanding there's situations where the vendors, but there needs to be a little bit more explanation that I do understand Chrissy cannot give. So I'll be fine with holding this myself.
Yeah, I agree with you, Councilman Howe, particularly where, this isn't Christie's department, and I don't think that it would be fair to her to, go through all these numbers. There's a whole lot of numbers here. We can be here all
Right.
night going through them. But I don't think that's fair to Christie. I would, we'll see if Councilman McAllister has anything, and any other members of the council, but I'm fine with you putting a motion on that, Councilman Howe.
Okay.
But first, any comments, Councilman McAllister?
Just, what was the PCR number?
122-20.
Thank you. No other questions.
Any other questions from members of the council? Do we have any questions from members of the public? Are there any questions from members of the public?
I make a motion to hold PCR 1. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
No, go ahead, Councilman. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I make a motion to hold PCR 122-20 till January 6th.
You want to do that the first meeting in January, or do you want to do it the second meeting? I think I don't know, we may have a lot of stuff going on the first meeting.
Okay. I was trying to think of what would be, considering that the water department's asking for this stuff, but thinking about the history, and back me up, Mr. Chairman, I think this is just, and Chrissy, maybe you can answer too. This is just like to have an inventory, correct? The majority of the stuff is to have an inventory.
Well, these parts are half and half. Half is for water main maintenance and half is for hydrant maintenance. So either way, we need to be able to purchase the parts. Now, I don't specifically work for the water department, but they are a division of DPW. So, but I don't know exactly but because of the volume of what's on this bid, and they have another bid like this, it's broken down by vendors because of the pricing. So they could buy a widget that's, $24 and someone else might have it for $24.02. But if you're going to buy 1,000 of them, it could make the difference of a couple $100.
Thank
Well,
you.
Chris, didn't you say that?
I'm willing to hold it till the 20th.
Yeah, the bid doesn't.
But just it expires on January.
Excuse me, one person talking at a time. The bid expires on January 25th. So we can act on it on January 20th, still time. And I think, Christie, you said that they've only spent 5,000 in this category so far?
That I could find.
Okay, got it. That's
so
this is fair to put the heat on Christie on this item. We have a motion to hold till January 20th. I'll second that. We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you, Christie. 2021-198 police breast hat badges found on page 31. Good evening, Major McLadies.
Good evening. How's everyone doing?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I still did better than Attorney Conley. He said good morning. So I wasn't as bad.
Excuse me,
Mr.
It just
Mr. Chair, I
been
think
for 1
we,
you jumped my bid.
You skipped
You
one,
jumped the,
Oh, I'm sorry.
2021, 189.
Thank you, Christie. Okay, hold on. So 2021, 188, which has become PCR 12220, was held until January 20th. Thank you, Christie. Sorry. Christie, you're doing a lot of work tonight for something that's not your department. 2021, 189. Go ahead, Christie. Found on page 23. Sorry about that.
that's okay. This one I do know a little bit more about because I've already presented it to the council previously. This was a bid that had been advertised for the Neptune cold water meters. These water meters are the ones that work with the program for the utility billing. We are requesting to award a new bid in the amount of $200,000 for a one-year period, March 27th, 2021 to March 26th, 2022.
Well, again, you're in really good shape time-wise, and I know we want to thank you for that. But Christie, I understand what you're doing here with tie sales and sidestepping a bit with some of the protocol because of significant price differentials from 7.1A, 7.2, and 7.4. I'm curious why so many bidders were asked, or so many vendors were recommended for the previous bid. And there's some huge differences in some of these items that Stiles has on 7.1A through the ones I just recommended, or I should say read off. Why aren't you asking for those to be awarded the Stiles instead of tie sales? There's huge
The-
difference.
I'll be honest with you. The only thing on this one, because there's only two vendors, the majority, I'd say at least 75% of what we requested as far as items, the other vendor didn't submit a bid for. These meters are very specific to the readers in the program that we have to do the utility billing. And last time this, again, from what I've researched backwards some, this bid ended up being a 56.6 back in 2018, in March of 2018, because it is somewhat specific. So Stiles can't offer us what we need, the majority of. So in this particular situation, the decision was made to award to one vendor. And the other bid, because we have so many items, and it makes more sense for us to divide them up by lowest bidder.
So Christie, I'm looking at these angled ball valves, and if I remember from conversations in the past, some of these things, it's not like you just use them once. And 7.1A, we come down to item the 1.5 inch. Tie sales is almost $2,600. Stiles is $1,700. That's not nickels and dimes. And on the 2 inch, tie sales is $2,975 and Stiles is $1,800. That's almost $1,000 difference. That's
I'll be
there's a
honest with
huge
you.
difference. What's that?
You could hand these items to me and I wouldn't know what they were. I got to be honest with you. This recommendation was made by the division chief of the water department. As far as the items themselves, I have no idea what they are. I just know the money side of it.
Yeah.
So
Okay, why don't we hold this one too? This bid doesn't, this contract doesn't need to be awarded until March 27th. So why don't we hold this also until, matter of fact, I'll make a motion. Oh, no, sorry. Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Do we have any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, because there's such a huge difference in these numbers, and it's pretty well consistent. I'm going to make a motion. We hold until January 20th so that the director can come to us and, maybe have an opportunity to revisit some of these things and see if they use any of these at all. But because of the significant difference, I think this is a case where we need to take an exception and take a different look at it. So I'm going to make a motion to hold until January 20th, and this will be 1/23/20. Need a second?
Second.
Second. Oh, sorry.
Okay, we have a second by Councilman McAllister and Councilman Howe. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Item passes. 2021-198. Now.
Item was held.
Sorry?
That was
The item-
held, right? Yep.
Correct.
Thank
There's
you.
PCR 12320 held till January 20th. Major McLadies, we're gonna get to you, promise. 2021-198 found on page 31.
Good evening again.
Hey,
In
Major.
August, the police department went out to bid for police badges and collar brass. It was placed on the docket for October 5th. It was at that time we noticed an error in the bid specs. As a result, we had to go back out to bid after correcting the error. So as a result of the second bid process, we received 3 bids. The police department's recommending the contract be awarded to Central Equipment as the lowest bidder. We are requesting spending be authorized up to $10,000 for this award, and purchases will be made on an as-needed basis.
Thank you, Major. And I, for one, I'm happy to see what I think it looks like in at least one more entity that has bid on this. I think this was another item in the past where getting vendors to bid on it was a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, there's not that many vendors that sell these type of badges. So yeah, there's a limited number.
Well, it's encouraging to see that we have at least one more. Major, the only question I have is delivery in calendar days. The Central Equipment isn't giving you a time frame. Did they provide you one that maybe just didn't hit the docket here?
They did not provide us a time frame, but we have had bids with them in the past, and they've always been very timely. Our experience is that they deliver very quickly as long as they can get their hands on the items.
Okay, works for me. Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Do we have any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion, we have a second, all in favor? Aye,
Aye.
thank you. Motion passes. Thank you, Major. Item 2021-230, found on page 34, purchase used Ford SUVs.
The department is seeking an exception to bid and authorization to make a one-time purchase of 2 used police cruisers from the Warren Police Department. Warren is looking to upgrade their fleet and is looking to sell these 2 vehicles. We're looking for an amount not to exceed $12,500. The first is a Ford Interceptor SUV with approximately 80,000 miles on it. It's in very good condition. NADA estimates for the vehicle would be between $9,000 and $3,000, and our cost is $7,500. The second vehicle is a 2015 Ford sedan with police package. That vehicle has approximately 89,000 miles on it. Also in very good condition. The estimate for that vehicle would be between $6,000 and $10,000, and our cost is $5,000. Our fleet manager and a WPD mechanic both went down to Warren PD and looked these 2 vehicles over. They stated both vehicles were in good shape mechanically. Both drove and handled well. All emergency equipment was tested and will stay with the vehicles. We're seeking to purchase these vehicles to add to our detail car fleet. As it stands right now, we do not have enough detail cars to meet the demand, and the demand continues to grow. These cars will not be used as frontline cars at all. They are strictly for details. And detail cars also bring in revenue from the cruiser fees associated with them. If approved, this purchase will come from state asset forfeiture.
Thank you, Major. And earlier today, you and I had spoken. I had a few questions. One of them was, in reading through the documents, this transaction requires the approval from the town council in Warren. And I believe you had said that, Colonel, go ahead.
So I'm able to confirm that was done last week, was approved. I'm waiting on the copy of the docket. I can forward it, but that I confirmed with the garage manager that Warren has approved it, so there will be no obstruction.
Okay, that's good. And did you also get a copy of the maintenance records on these vehicles?
We don't, I'll defer to the Colonel.
We don't have hard copies, so they're electronic. I know when they're the garage manager, when he reviewed, they actually use a computer program, so he's reviewed all of that. We're in the process of seeing if we can get it either exported to an Excel type spreadsheet or copies for significant maintenance. But that was part of the review both the garage manager and the mechanic did when they went to Warren to see these items, these two vehicles.
Good. And as I understand it, all the emergency equipment on these vehicles is all functioning properly and correctly at this time.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. That's all the questions I have. Any other, Councilman Howe?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Major and Colonel. Upon reviewing it, I think that looking at it, we can always, one of the challenges we're facing as a city is updating our fleets and somehow getting quality vehicles and getting them into it. And as you said, I appreciate the fact that this is a revenue generating purchase. That'll go on the details. Looking at the amount that it's being purchased at, I appreciate the homework you folks did. And Major, if you could explain to me, you said at the very end of your statement that you would receive the funds from state forfeiture, or did I misunderstand that?
It would be paid for through asset forfeiture.
Asset forfeiture. Okay, thank you.
That's Twister.
What is that? I'm sorry.
That's the tongue twister.
Yeah. Right. So no, I appreciate you going out and finding these at the great price. I commend the Colonel and I commend you, Major, for getting that done and helping us get the fleet updated. And with all the LED conversion and the paving that we're gonna have doing and the Mickey Stevens upgrade that we're gonna need those details. So I thank you so much for being prepared and getting ready. Thank you, Chairman.
You're welcome. Councilman McAllister, I see a satisfaction smile on your face. Did you have anything you wanted to add to this?
I like how Tim Howe has already detailed these cars to his ward, but that made me smile. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I picked up on that, but I'm hoping for a much larger pile than that asset forfeiture so that we can buy some new police cruisers too.
Yeah.
Right? Any other questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Do we have any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion for favorable action. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, right now we only have one attendee. Okay, next item. Auto body repairs, item 2021-231. And that is found on page 56.
The police department is seeking authorization to spend $17,594.59 in insurance proceeds for repairs to our police cruiser accident that occurred back in August. After the accident, a claim was filed with our insurer, the Interlocal Trust. We received 3 quotes from Ford certified repair shops, all indicating visible damage only. A1 Custom Auto Body was the lowest of the 3 initial quotes. We were then contacted by the appraiser for the trust, who indicated he would be at Auto Body when it was up on the lift to assess if there was any further damage. The cruiser was put on the lift, it was disassembled. As a result, additional damage was located. A1 provided a supplemental quote to which the insurance adjuster agreed to. A check for the full amount was then issued to the city of Warwick for $17,594 back on August 27th. We are requesting authorization to use those insurance proceeds to pay A1 Auto Body for their services.
Major, as I look through this, and keep in mind, I deal with insurance companies and these type of claims all the time. Might be a different industry. It's not automobiles, but I kind of know what the drill is, and it astounds me that there is such a huge difference between who is this company? Brock's Collision Center. Such a huge difference between their original value of this damage and once it got up on the lift and we took a little closer look, we come up with another $10,000 worth of damage. It actually gets me angry because I don't need to put a vehicle on a lift to see that you got a right mirror that's busted. I don't need to put a vehicle on the lift to see that. Graphics. I don't need to be an artist to know that the graphics are not there or that you need $1,700 worth of painting that's all found after. So I'm really questioning how this Brock's Collision Service or whatever their name is, comes up with these type of things. You know, again, I deal with it all the time. I find it very, very frustrating that there's a low ball number put out there, and then all of a sudden, this thing jumps up by over 10 grand. How is that? How can this company miss a mirror, miss graphics, miss what else is in this thing? And I'm flipping pages loud because I am annoyed. You got a right fender liner that's, busted up. You hit a rock, that causes this type of damage. I don't need to be a body shop to know that there's got to be something damaged, in this liner or the undercarriage. Right front wheel, steel, $376. Right rear wheel, $107. How isn't that picked up? And Major, I'm not raising my voice towards you or directing my comments towards you. I'm directing them towards what is going on with this company. Can you shed any light on that for us, please? Or Colonel?
So I understand where you're coming from, Councilman. And one of the things that, I don't want to say validated this, but when the trust appraiser was present, when the car was brought in and put on the lift, it added a second set of eyes from the insurer, which in a sense kind of indicated potentially the frame side of what happened. So I understand where you're coming from. I do. I wasn't present during the initial inspection, so I can't speak to that. I can tell you, again, for lack of a better word, validation occurred when the adjuster from the interlocal trust, our insurer, was present and confirmed the information as observed. In the absence of that, I would be even more suspect, and I do appreciate where you're coming from on this.
Yeah, I would, well, I know I, for one, certainly will keep an eye out for, these type of things going forward as we move on here with council business, because that's just, I see it more times than I care to in my industry, and I anticipate it's not much difference than other industries. So in any event, that's what I got to say about that. I'll keep an eye on them though. Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions, comments from members of the council? Do we have any questions from members of the public? Any questions or comments from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion, please.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion for favorable. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Item number 2021-232, found on page 79, automobile repairs.
Public Works is requesting to pay final invoice to Hurd Auto Mall in the amount of $1,244.88. We had a vehicle that we had sent up for some evaluation. We were having issues diagnosing the problem with it in our city garage. We pulled a purchase order in the amount of $700 as an estimate because we weren't sure how much it was going to be, and the final bill ended up coming in at $1,200. I don't know, I can't remember that, $44.88. So we're requesting to pay the final bill, $544 over the purchase order that was issued.
Okay, so I think you may have answered my question, Christie, but at least one of them anyways. So this invoice I'm looking at, this purchase order, it says diagnose issue with H2, blah, 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 $700. So they're not charging us $700 just to diagnose what the problem was. Is that right?
No, we sent it out there because it wouldn't stay running. And our mechanics tried a bunch of different things and replacing parts and things, and they just couldn't get it to stay running. So we sent it to Hurd in case it was a computer issue, because we don't have that. We don't have the ability to like reset the computer in these vehicles. So long story short, when we sent it out, I pulled a purchase order to at least, assuming we would cover whatever we incurred as far as charges. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough. So now that we have the final invoice, we are requesting to pay it.
Okay, that was my concern, that, we're getting a bill for $700 just to diagnose the problem. Okay.
No.
You explain that. Chrissy, is there like regular maintenance program with these vehicles where, we put in dry gas and, we're checking some of these things that they're talking about here? Do we have something like that?
We did have a fuel issue. We did put the dry gas in it, but it just ended up being, they changed the fuel pump. And that so at Hurd, they could get it to run and stay running, but it was running rough. So, but at the end of the day, we got the truck back and it's running. It's been on the road, so it's, knock wood, seems to be fine.
Okay, in the last comment in their invoice here, it says, replaced plugs in vehicle ran better, but still had a skip. Found oxygen sensor to be dead. Replaced sensor in vehicle now runs, but has a slight hesitation. So does this vehicle still have a hesitation, or is it something?
No, the spark plugs, so I actually spoke to the service advisor there. The spark plugs were, had carbonol in them. They were black, so they had to change the spark plugs. Then they found the bad sensor and they changed that. And then they ended up, and I don't think that it actually says it in here, but they changed the ignition coil, or I think it was the ignition coil. And the vehicle's been running fine.
Okay. All right. Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Do we have any questions from members of the public? Are there any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, need a motion?
Move for favorable action.
We have a motion.
Second.
Favorable. Second, thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Christie. Item 2021-233, found on page 84, additional vendor OEM parts for various police vehicles.
Lori Michaelides on behalf of the police department. The police department went out to bid in early September for OEM parts. We received 2 bids and the contract was awarded to the lowest bidder, Factory Motor Parts, with spending authority up to $75,000, which this council approved. Since then, we have learned that Factory Motor Parts is unable to supply certain dealer-only items. They indicated to us that these items are in the Ford Blue Box versus the red Motorcraft box. We are therefore requesting the police department have authorization to purchase those parts that they don't supply from Tasca Ford. Tasca was the only other bidder during the bidding process back in September. I would like to make an amendment, however, to the request that you have in front of you. I do not want to request an additional 5,000 in spending authority. I would like this request to be inclusive with the 75,000 award with bid 2021-108 back in October 19th.
Okay, so you want this 5,000 request. So you basically, you don't want to increase the monies, you just want to add the vendor.
Correct.
Okay. So we're going to make an amendment to eliminate the monetary request of, hold on, because I'm writing, 5,000 and give you the approval to use the vendor for the parts that you cannot get through factory, I'm sorry, awarded to let you go to Tasker to get the parts that you can't get through Ford Motor.
Absolutely correct.
Okay. Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Do we have any questions from members of the public? So again, just to repeat, what the major is looking for is an amendment to 2021, which will bring us to 12420.
Yep.
PCR 12420. And the amendment will be to eliminate the monetary request of $5,000, but to approve the police department going to Tasker for parts they can't get from factory motor parts. That's a motion. I'm not going to ask anybody to repeat that, rascal. So can I have a second on that, please?
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
I'll third it because I was impressed.
Well, Councilman Howell, let's see how impressed you are. Would you repeat that, please? Because I don't remember what I said. I'm
The
only
same
kidding.
thing I said, but I did know.
Okay, so we have,
Councilman?
yes,
As far as the resolution, we're going to take that amount of 5,000 off the resolution. And
Right.
at that point, we're going to note that it's inclusive with bid 2021-108. So that original spending authority that you approved several months ago would cover these two bids.
right, as part of the 75,000 that we approved.
Correct.
Exactly. Okay,
Thank you.
Billy Walsh, you got all that down?
You know what? It's worth repeating just for that sake. So the amendment I have is to modify the contract award to no new monies and authorize it as being part of or inclusive in the award under bid 2021-108.
Correct, in the amount of $75,000, and to give the authority to the police department to purchase the parts from Tasker that they cannot get from factory motor. Okay, I think we got that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we have a motion. We have a second. All in favor? Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
okay.
Move it as
Move
amended.
favorable as amended.
Move is favorable as amended by Councilman McAllister, seconded by Councilman Howe. All in favor as amended on PCR 12420.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Just bear with me 1 minute, please.
Thank you all.
You're welcome, Colonel. Okay. Moving on. Once again, I need approval of the minutes on December 7th.
Favorable action.
We have a motion favorable. We have a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. PCR 12120. We're going to item 2, which is PCR 97-20, resolution regarding ratification of the Cooper Building lease. That is Councilman Sinapi. I have spoken to Mayor-elect Bokosi, and he has requested that we hold this until the second meeting in January. Is that okay with you, Councilman McAllister? I'm sorry, Councilman Sinapi?
I'll take the compliment. No, that's absolutely fine with me.
Okay. So PCR 97-20 will be held at the request of Mayor-elect Bokosi until January 20th. Thank you for that, Councilman Sinapi. Next item, PCR 110-20, formerly 2021-149, health and dental insurance. We have the same situation. Mayor-elect Bokosi has requested that we also hold this until January 20th, so he will have time to take a closer look at this.
So,
Mr. Chairman,
committee first.
Sir.
Never mind, he's got it.
do we need to vote on the first one to hold?
Yes.
Yes, sorry. Okay, so need a motion?
I'll make the motion to hold to the January
20th.
20th meeting.
Seconded.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman McAllister. On PCR 110-20, I'll make a motion at the request of Mayor-elect Bokosi to hold until January 20th.
Chairman
No.
Lattiser,
Yes,
if I may, I heard from Bokosi today, he was okay with this contract passing as well as the next one.
well, that's not what he told me earlier this
I
afternoon.
literally have it in writing.
Well, that's okay. That's not what he told me earlier this afternoon, so I'm going to go by what he had told me.
Do you have it in writing?
No, I do not have it in writing.
I have mine in writing. Would you like it?
Yes,
Okay.
show it to
Okay.
us. Procedurally, Attorney Walsh, procedurally, is this something that can be done right now? Now that I'm thinking about it?
I mean, you're really doing secondhand communications from the mayor-elect. If there were someone from that transition team who's eligible as a member of the public to participate, who wanted to inform or comment upon their opinions of that, that's something that the committee would be eligible to consider.
Is there anyone from Mayor-elect Bokosi's transition team here that can speak to this? My last conversation with the mayor-elect, which was earlier this afternoon, was to hold all three of these items so that he would have an opportunity to weigh in on them at the January 20th meeting.
If you like, I can get one of them on the phone.
Is there anyone from the mayor's transition team here?
Would you like me to get one of them on the phone, Chairman Lattiser?
Attorney Walsh?
I can put it on speaker, or I can ask them to join the meeting,
No,
whichever.
first, I can do the same thing. Attorney Walsh?
If they could weigh in through the appropriate channels by engaging as a member of the public and informing us in that manner, that would be an appropriate way to handle the situation.
All right, so I'll make a call.
Mr. Chairman, I noticed that Lynn Roger and Steve Rotondo are on. I understand the purpose of why you're asking out of respect to the mayor. I'd like to know if they have anything to add, seeing that this came on the docket. Thank you.
Fine. Okay, Lynn, any comments?
I think Steve is presenting the healthcare consultant.
Steve?
Sure. I'll just say, and certainly I defer, of course, to a new administration and their concern for doing due diligence. I will also say that this is a very time-sensitive one. This consultant helps us prepare, update bids, and solicit for bids for health and dental insurance administrator for the city. That's a $24 million, roughly $24 million expenditure for active and retired employees and their dependents. So, and it's very time sensitive because, as you know, we make a recommendation that we want to present to the council and be able to answer the council's questions in a timely manner so they can make a decision in time for the budget. So just by way of reference, the original proposal says that indicates that whoever is selected for this should be prepared to put out with the city an RFP on January 15th. And then it follows a fairly strict timeline after that. Our proposal says we need at least 4 weeks for bid solicitation. I was kind of hoping we'd have more because, again, this is important. It's a $24 million, $25 million annual expense. It covers almost all of our employees, all of our full-time employees, a bunch of retirees, and of course dependents. So I guess all I could say is we're going to be in a tight time frame, and at some point, if we don't select someone here, we're going to be coming to the council and saying we're not prepared to give you a bona fide recommendation for a health insurance administrator because we just don't have the information yet.
Steve, have you spoken to Mayor-elect Picozzi about this?
No, I haven't spoken to the mayor-elect or anyone on the transition team.
Chairman Lattiser, you'll be getting a text from the mayor-elect shortly.
Mr. Walsh, is that appropriate or not? I thought you just spoke to that.
The best I can do.
So any communications you're receiving in your manner is really a private communication. If somebody wants to put something on the record through the public channels at this point, the mayor-elect or is a member of the announced team could speak to it at the public meeting. Otherwise, you're just receiving non-public information. But it's at the end of the day, that's an expression of his intent. It's really the council's determination.
So what you're saying is, and I have not received anything from the transition team at all. What you're saying is if I were to receive something from the transition team, I could read that in the record and that would be appropriate?
It would be appropriate in the sense that it is an acknowledgement towards your official decision-making process. As it relates to what's pending before the council, with all due respect to the mayor-elect, the item was properly bid and it is pending before this committee and subject to the determination of this council. It's at the discretion of you members to decide how or whether to act upon the matter.
Okay, yeah, I get that. My concern is that we are complying with all the requirements of the Open Meetings Act or anything else. I have received a text from Mayor-elect Picozzi, and my question is this appropriate to read his direction or his comments into the record?
So under the Open Meetings Act, it is appropriate to respond to issues raised by members of the public. So how he were to raise it, that's a more vague interpretation. As far as what you are expressing is informative of how you may vote. So that's something that's information you have received, but
Okay. All right, got it. Any other, Councilman Howe? Go ahead, Councilman Howe.
Thank you. If I could follow up Mr. Rotundo, I understand the time frame that you're going through right now. And if this, let's just do if we held this worst case scenario, I would say, if we held it to the first meeting of January, is that enough time? Or do you feel that that's putting a large pressure on to get this done?
Well,
and that would be January 6th, sir.
Okay, so the time, we have to look at the time frames. Again, we had wanted to have this proposal prepared for publication on January 15th. And we would want at least 4 weeks for vendors to submit those proposals. So that brings us to February. And I had a timeline here. We would want, we had told the consultant in the original request that they would have until March 4th to to complete their analysis for us so that we can go down, make decisions with our intention of putting an award proposal to the city council April 15th or on or about April 15th. So we're a month or two behind that. And so we'll be, it's going to be May, I would think at the very least, if not June, till we have a valid recommendation that we have comfort with and that we can answer all the questions that I'm sure that the council will ask about an important contract. So I think originally put this on the November agenda and would hope to getting a determination then. And frankly, I'll throw myself on the sword. I had intended to put it in October, but being fairly new and I didn't get to it. So I apologize for that. So
Okay.
yes, we'll be in a tight timeframe. That was a very long-winded way of saying our contract with the vendor right now expires June 30th, 2021. And there's two things going on. One, that contract would probably have to be extended. The other of those is, does the city council have the information it needs and has confidence in to make a decision and to accept our proposal and in time for budgeting purposes?
Okay, based upon some of the comments made and information presented, I think it'll be appropriate to move forward with this. Any questions or further questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Any questions or comments from members of the public? Do we have any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
I'll move favorable action on PCR 110-20.
Seconded.
We have a motion for favorable. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next item, PCR 111-20, a rescue service billing administrator. Who, Lynn, is that you?
Me, yeah.
Go ahead.
I am requesting that this be awarded to Comstar Billing. This expires on January 1st, unfortunately, that's very soon. I have selected the low bidder and a vendor that we've had a relationship with for a few years, and they have outstanding service, which is why I would like to continue with them.
Okay. Any questions from members of the committee? Councilman Howe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Lynn, is this the one that you identified has a very successful get rate, if you will, where they're very successful in following up and getting the billing and the payments?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council?
Just one thing, Chairman. This is the other contract I referred to in my previous point about the mayor-elect saying it was okay to pass these two. This was the other one.
I got it. Any other questions from members of the council? Any questions from members of the public? Are there any questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move
We
for
do
favorable
have,
action.
excuse me, we had a member of the public would like to comment.
I'm
It was
sorry.
just at the last minute.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Who would like to speak from the public?
Mr. Chairman, they just exited the meeting.
That was, it,
No, they're on. They're on.
Okay.
They can just ask to unmute.
The
I'm
person
sorry,
left.
I believe that's the claim.
Yeah, it looks like the claimant.
That's the claim. That's Mr. Houlet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was running into some difficulties again, and I was just not sure if I missed the public safety claim.
No, not yet, sir.
Sorry about
Hang
that.
in there. Hang in there. It's still coming up.
Okay, sorry about that.
No
Okay.
worries. Thank you.
All right. Any questions? Any further questions from members of the public? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Move for favorable action.
Seconded.
We have a motion for favorable. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, it is 6:10 and the Finance Committee stands adjourned.
Next up is the Ordnance Committee. This is Chairman McAllister, Councilman Corley, Councilman Sinapi, and it is eligible to begin.
Thank you very much. I see. There we go. All right. I call the Ordinance Committee at 6:11. First up is acceptance of the minutes from the December 7th meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. First up is PCO 10-19, an ordinance in regards to water discharge. This is not drafted. Councilman Lattiser, Councilwoman Travis, what's your pleasure?
Hold till March 8th.
Okay, I'll make the motion on behalf of the sponsor to hold to March 8th. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much. And I close the Ordinance Committee at 6:11.
Next up is the Public Safety Committee. This is Chairman Sinapi, Councilman Ricks, Councilman Howe, and it is eligible to begin.
Everybody ready? I got one. Councilman Howe, are you there? There he is.
Yes, I am. Sorry about that.
No worries. All right, public safety can start at 6:12 p.m. First up, we have approval of the minutes.
Move favorable action.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then next, we have PCR 68-20, resolution relative to claims, Mark Houlet. And I know he's he's also attending, just in case we have any questions. I believe we all received the additional estimates for Mr. Houlet's damage.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say thank you to you and Councilman Ricks for your diligence and patience on this. After reviewing everything, it's fair to say that he followed all the procedures. He got the estimates. He very patiently, this has been going on a while. So I just want to say that I did receive, and I want to also thank Mr. Braska for making sure that we got all the information that he submitted.
Yes, thank you very much. It was an interesting claim. I'm glad we were able to make it work. And now, can someone help me translate between all the estimates what we're looking at for the second amount? Because we had 700 plus 725 before, and it was the 725 that we were trying to resolve. And Councilman Ricks, I'm pretty sure I just heard you.
Chairman, yes. So I crunched some numbers on this, and as you can see, the previously received estimate was $725. That was not the lowest bid at the end of the day. The second lowest bid of the three would have been the $577.80 from, let's see, this one is Jack's Professionals Service, and that covers both the removal of the two shrubs and installation of the two replacement shrubs. But if we go to the third estimate from Jose Echevarria for the shrub removal, that would be $160. And then that would, in addition, from the estimate for the replacement trees provided by Mr. Houlet, the document shows that each replacement tree would be $174.95 plus a $7.99 oversized fee. And that does not include the sales tax, which here in Rhode Island would be the 7%. So when I add up those numbers from Mr. Echevarria, as well as the numbers for the trees, I get $525.88. And then, as sales tax is not included on those particular items, but is included in the other estimate, add that 7%, and the grand total for that becomes $562.69, which is still lower than the other estimates of $725, as well as that other estimate for, as I flip through these pages again. Yes, also lower than the $577.80. So the total, going with the lowest bidder for the fence and the lowest bidders for the shrub removal and new shrubs, would be $700 plus $562.69, which would come to a total of $1,262.69.
Alrighty. Anyone else on the committee have anything to say? Comments, questions, concerns? Council? Anyone? All right. And members of the public, including Mr. Houlet, any comments or questions? And just so we're clear, that way you don't realize after the fact you might have wanted to say something. What'll likely happen is, I assume someone will motion for approval of the claim for the amount of $1,262.69, because that combines both the low bids for the services. So if for some reason that sends off alarm bells for you, Mr. Houlet, please speak now. Saw the hand go up.
You can unmute now. Mr. Houlet, you can unmute now.
Hello?
Yes,
Okay.
sir, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to add that this seems correct. It all adds up correctly.
All right, no issues on your end. This works?
This works, correct. Thank you.
Got it. All right, does anyone want to make the motion?
Move favorable action in the amount of $1,262.69.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. And Lynn, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's the end of public safety for tonight.
That's correct.
All right, so public safety concludes at 6:18 p.m.
Thank you.
Shorter than
Thank you,
finance.
Chairman and Councilman. Mr. Houlet, thank you.
Next up is the Intergovernmental Committee. This is Chairman Corley, Councilman Howe, Councilman McElroy, and we have to wait approximately 2 minutes before we can begin. It is now 6:20 and the Intergovernmental Committee is able to proceed at your call, Mr. Chairman.
This is the Intergovernmental Committee, and we're beginning at 6:20. The first item on the agenda is the acceptance of the minutes of the December 7th meeting.
Move favorable action.
I saw Jim say second, but I didn't hear. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
The first item on the agenda is PCR 19619, a resolution to the General Assembly for additional funding for Warwick Public Schools. It is not drafted. It was Council President Marola's item.
I think
Is it
that's
what
not.
drafted?
Yep,
It's not-
I'm here, hold on.
Okay.
Go ahead, Rick.
All right, this is the resolution to the General Assembly for additional funding for Warwick Public Schools. It's not drafted.
So why don't you hold it till the second meeting in January?
Okay. Behalf of
And
the
that should,
sponsor,
that should probably be switched into Councilman Gephardt's name too. I had talked to him about it.
okay, the
Motion
second,
Motion to hold PCR 196-19 to January 20th.
second. It's been moved and seconded. Does anyone have any comments on the council? Anyone in the public? Okay, a vote on the motion.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it's moved to January 20th. Second item is PCR 28-20, a resolution supporting codification of the cancer presumption by the General Assembly. Councilman Sinapi, it's not drafted.
General Assembly beat me to it, so this is now law anyway. So we can go ahead and get rid of this one.
Like to withdraw it?
Works for me.
Motion to withdraw PCR 28-20 per request of the sponsor.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And the last item that I have is PCR 40-20, a resolution in regards to amending the city council rules. Says it's not drafted.
You can go ahead and hold that to the next meeting, please.
Motion to hold PCR 40-20 till January 6th.
Second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
And that closes the Intergovernmental Committee meeting at, I'll say 6:13, 14.
6:23.
Oh, 10 minutes off.
Next up is the Appointments Committee. This is Chairman McElroy, Councilmember Ricks, and Councilmember McAllister, but it is not eligible to begin until 6:30 p.m. The time is now 6:30 and the Appointments Committee is eligible to begin at the chairman's call.
It is now 6:30 and the Appointments Committee will now come to order. Are we all here? Okay. The first order of business will be the acceptance of the minutes from the committee meeting held on November 16th. Do I hear a motion?
Move to accept the minutes.
Second.
Have a motion to accept and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The first order of business is the,
Mr. Chairman?
yes,
Mr. Chairman, if I may, it's been brought to our attention from the Solicitor's Office that in regards to the appointments that were properly docketed as far as open meetings are concerned, they are violative of Rule 32 regarding confirmation of appointments of the council rules. So at this time, it's the recommendation not to proceed on any discussion or action on the appointments that are listed here and pursuant to Rule 32.
how are they violative of that rule?
Sure, I'll read from the rules for the edification of the public as well.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the rule. I'm assuming it's not was it the regular business meeting?
Yes, it's twofold, but yes, the appointments normally are under Rule 32. The Appointments Committee at its regular council business meeting would take up these items with the information being provided to it in advance. As the councilors are aware, tonight's meeting is not the regular business meeting. It is a regular public hearing meeting. So under that rule, it's a peculiarity of how it sits, but traditionally and per the rule, all the appointments are undertaken at the regular business meeting of each month with information provided in advance of that date. So per that rule, we would recommend not to proceed.
Yeah, the only question I have about that is all year, we've been doing appointments that happen at the regular business meeting. They've all been done at the second meeting of the month. So if we could do it at the second meeting all year, why is it changed now?
Well, I would say that this year has been an interesting one with COVID and other protocols and different meetings scheduled and moved around. So there have been instances where the council has decided to move forward in those efforts, I suppose. I can't speak at length as to the issuance of, how those proceeded, but the rule is being, if the council, wants to proceed, the rule has, in this case, is, subject to being changed.
All right, so what is the best way to go about changing that right now?
Well, twofold. One item is, a way to clean up the rules longer term is to fix the rule clarification moving forward, so we don't have any other instances of this. And that's something that I know Councilman Sinapi has docketed something. The council president-elect has noted an upcoming issue, interest in any other rule changes. So for the consistency's sake that you're concerned about, perhaps that's something that the council may want to consider in its review of the council rules for the next cycle.
Yeah, I agree. For consistency, I'm fine with going forward with the way we've done it all year, and possibly even in prior years. We can always revisit it when we change the council rules.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I understand your position. I would just reiterate that per the rule, that's the guidance. And if the council wants to do anything else to the rule, that's at their discretion, but the rule itself states it. So proceeding would be in contradiction to the rule itself.
Okay, but it doesn't say anywhere in the rule what happens if you do it at a other council meeting other than the regular business meeting.
the rules, and if I can have another moment to further review the rules around it, you have the discretion to refer things to other meetings down the road, but the peculiarity of this rule is that it states that the process begins on the first meeting. So unless the rule is changed, or it's applicable in this case. So,
But does it say anything what happens if we don't follow that rule and we just follow past practice?
I would say it's not an official. You could argue that proceeding in direct contradiction without a formal action by the council to agree to do otherwise, then the action would be in jeopardy. And then in the case of these appointments, if you're not choosing to waive the rules, there is a glimmer of doubt as to the qualifications of the appointments, and thus any consideration, anything that they consider.
Now, would that also be for all previous meetings and appointments that weren't done at the regular business meeting?
I would contend that where the actions of the council have encouraged them or voted to actually proceed in that manner, that provides that authority. But in this case, unless there's an agreement to suspend or do otherwise, then the rule is going to be binding at this point in time.
Right, so then I could just appeal to the council to suspend that rule for this evening's meeting?
Under the rules, the council has the ability to change, to suspend different practices. Traditionally, the one that we're most familiar with would be in Rule 21, where we've had to extend past certain times of the evening. That particular rule requires unanimous consent. Other changes to the rules for the purposes of proceeding is on a majority basis.
Okay, so then the most safe thing to go doing it for past practice and to go with the council rules saying that has to be done at the regular business meeting, I would make a motion to suspend the rules to allow us to take up these appointments. Do I hear a second?
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Sure.
I have a couple of issues here. It may be the city council's past practice when it comes to Rule 32. But now that Rule 32 has been brought to our attention, I'm concerned that we would need unanimous consent to move forward.
Well,
And
I don't believe it has to be unanimous consent. And I think what is now, there's a motion made now. Now I'm waiting to see if there's going to be a second.
I would decline to second.
There being no seconds for the committee to suspend the rule, I would recommend that the committee conclude its business at this time.
Okay, the committee is closed at 6:39 PM.
The time is now 6:40. The Public Properties, Land Use Committee and Community Affairs is eligible to begin. This is Chairman Ricks, Councilman Corley, and Councilman McElroy.
Okay, I believe everyone is here. Everyone is ready.
Ready.
All right. The City Council Committee on Public Properties, Land Use and Community Affairs comes to order at 6:40 p.m. First up, we have acceptance of minutes from the committee meeting held on December 7th, 2020. Do I hear a motion?
Acceptance.
Second.
Acceptance.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Let's see, the only remaining item, this is Councilman Sinapi. It is not yet drafted. PCO 30-19, ordinance involving state law regarding unutilized commercial property. Councilman Sinapi, would you request that we hold this to the first, second meeting of January or some other date?
Neither of these options is good as far as first or second. First, I don't think it's going to be written in time. I mean, to be honest, it is actually drafted in time, thanks to Ms. Pecchia, but we want some input from the mayor-elect. That way we can make sure this is suitable for everybody. So I would like to hold this. I don't think tomorrow's going to work, because that would mean we got to do a crash course on how this bill works and what we're looking for. And it's not reasonable to ask them to make an opinion on it so quickly. So I go for the second meeting, even though I suspect that's just increasingly overloading that meeting.
Second meeting in January, January 20, 2021?
Yes, please.
All right. Do we have a motion from a committee member to that effect?
I move on behalf of the sponsor to continue it to January 20th, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. The committee concludes at 6:42 p.m.
That concludes all committees for this evening. The full council will be up next at 7 p.m.
Is everybody all set?
Yeah.
Okay. I see Anthony now. Phil, could you go live or
We are set.
we're all set? Okay. The city council will come to order and the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Marola,
Here.
Mr. Corley,
Here.
Mr. Howe,
Here.
Mr. Lattiser,
Here.
Mr. McAllister,
Here.
Mr. McElroy,
Yeah,
Mr. Ricks,
Here.
Mr. Sinapi,
Here.
Ms. Travis.
Here.
9 present.
Okay, Councilman Corley, if you could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of
United
America,
States of America,
And to the
to the
Republic
to the
republic
republic for which it
for which it
stands,
stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice
for all.
for all.
Phil, if you could play the national anthem. Thank you. Before we get started, I was just going to read into the record that this meeting is being conducted by virtual Zoom. The following options are available to access the meeting. You may access or participate in the meeting using the Zoom application on a smart device or on a PC via the web at zoom.us and clicking on Join a Meeting in the upper right of the page. The webinar ID is 9787869794. Anyone wanting to participate via telephone may call one of the following numbers. Non-toll-free numbers. While most mobile phone carriers do not place an extra charge on customers for toll calls, it is up to you to check with your carrier concerning potential charges you would be responsible for. The non-toll-free numbers are these are all US numbers, 1-646-558-8656, 1-301-715-8592, 1-312-626-6799, 1-669-900-9128, 1-253-215-8782, and 1-346-248-7799. The toll-free numbers anywhere in the US are as follows: 1-877-853-5247, 1-888-788-0099, 1-833-548-0276 and 1-833-548-0282. Please note, if you experience trouble connecting via a toll-free number, please try the next number on the list. You will then need to punch in the webinar ID, which again is 978-8786-9794 on your touch-tone keypad. While everyone joining the meeting will be muted, if at the appropriate time during the proceedings you wish to ask a question, you may, if using a smartphone or a PC, click on the raise hand icon. The meeting moderator will then ask for the participant having raised their hand to be unmuted. After the question, answer, and any further discussion, the participant will be muted again and will need to click on the raised hand icon or punch in *9 to ask another question. If phoning in, punch in *9 on the touchtone keypad. The moderator will indicate when it's your turn to comment, ask a question. And that's the instructions for the public. We're going to go to executive communications. I don't believe there are any under general communications. I just wanted to thank the members of Ward 9 and the city, but in particular my constituents here in Ward 9 for electing me to this post now for 22 years. I grew up here in, I think we moved here in 1968 to this neighborhood and have called it home ever since then. Went to all the public schools here and actually started off with the Budlongs at Cedarhurst Nursery School many, many years ago, and then went to Cedar Hill, Windman, and Tollgate, and very much enjoyed my time on the council and a lot of the things that we were able to accomplish. And I think Councilwoman Travis would probably know, but I think it's close to 40 members that I've served with over the years, and God knows how many members that she's served with. So again, I thank everybody that I've served with and the constituents for electing me 22 years to this post. Are there any other general communications from council members? Councilman Lattisaw.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. It has been a distinct pleasure serving with you over the last 8 years. You have served honorably in your capacity, both as members of committees, both as the councilman of Ward 9, and also as council president. You've also had the courage many times, many times over the last 22 years to stand tall and stand hard on the very difficult decisions that have to be made. Particularly, you have been known for looking at the big picture, looking at things in the big picture, understanding the business sense and costs of the decisions that as elected officials we have to make. Sometimes those decisions not always pleasant, other times very difficult. And you've always done that. You've never turned, you've never refused to take a hard stand on things, and you certainly had no problem drawing the lines in the sand. One of the things I'm going to particularly miss about Council President Steve Marola is the history that you will be taking with you as an elected official here in the city of Warwick. We are very fortunate to still have Councilwoman Travis here, who also has 20-some years of history. History is something that takes a long, long time to understand, to appreciate, and to be able to benefit from the experiences that you have in your recall in making these these decisions. So I want to wish you the best of luck going forward. You certainly will have more time to spend devoting to your family and your career. And I wish you all the best, and it has been a pleasure serving with you. Thank you.
Thank you. And I was remiss in also wishing Councilman Corley good luck in his future endeavors. And I appreciate all the hard work that he's put in over the years. This job, to me, has always been about debating ideas and voting your conscience. And I think that's what we all strive for. To me, this has never been a matter of personalities or who we like or dislike as individuals, but what we strive to do together to come to the best solution and the best legislation that we can come with everybody's input, whether you agree or disagree with somebody's opinion on something. And I think that that's probably been the most rewarding part of the job, seeing things like the Warwick Land Trust come to fruition, or being able to preserve Rocky Point or Barton Farm, or all the other issues that have come up over the years that we've worked hard on, all the school bond referendums. When those things come to fruition, it really makes this job worthwhile. And I encourage everybody to keep working hard and, moving forward. I'm sure that the city will go in the right direction under everybody's leadership, and, that we're doing the best we can now under COVID-19 and real difficult situations. So I wish everybody on this council and the next council and the new mayor the best for the new year and the upcoming years.
Mr. President, I'll just hold my comments for Councilman Corley after he has an opportunity to speak to it.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anybody else that'd like to speak? Councilman Howe.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I also would like to say congratulations and well earned after 22 years of serving on this council. Congratulations on completing the terms honorably and serving, finishing off strong as the council president. To Councilman Corley, it was an honor working and serving with you on this council the last 4 years. Some things I'd like to identify, as I said, I want to make it an issue to point out some positives, Mr. President. On Saturday, December 19th, the Warwick Fire Department escorted Santa throughout Warwick. I want to say thank you to Chief McMichael and the professional uniform services of the fire department. It was a great success. Everyone who saw it on the Facebook and the personal posts, it was something else. This goes along with the challenges that we as a city are facing with COVID. I can say assuredly that the reason why, one of the things that all the departments have done is try to somehow put some normality by thinking outside the box. And we have two departments, many departments, but there are two departments that have the ability to go out and reach the community that have done it. The other is the police department. On December 10th, Mr. President, they donated $6,248 through the patch, the police department patch initiative, to veteran anglers, a Rhode Island, or mostly it started in Connecticut to Rhode Island, that's direct services to veterans. In total, they have donated well over, I wrote that down, they have donated well over $35,000 to local nonprofits, to, again, a way of reaching out, opening up their doors, reaching out and trying to kind of help the people that are being impacted by this change of lifestyle that we're so used to. Also, the Warwick Police Department conducted a toy drive that filled an entire cargo container, as well as joined the Santa at the Warwick Police Department joined Santa at CCRI for letters to Santa drop off. It is under the leadership of Colonel Rick Rathbun, the community police under Captain Lima and Sergeant Higgins that have kept these services going and have put the Warwick Police Department on the top when it comes to serving the community and kind of changing and transforming the idea of what a police department does. I would like to now, speaking on Ward 3, another very positive, and I would definitely welcome Councilwoman Donna Travis to join me on this. I'd like to give a huge thank you and shout out to Speaker-elect Joe Sakarchi. He secured the second largest grant in the state of Rhode Island of $419,000 to go to Mickey Stevens for the environmental impact. The reason why I asked Councilwoman Travis to join me on this, Mr. President, is because obviously right where Mickey Stevens is on the border of her Ward 6, but also on the border of it's in Ward 3. And our businesses, the businesses that are on Sandy Lane and the businesses of West Shore Road would benefit so much from seeing Mickey Stevens revigorated and made into a stadium, into a sports complex that would welcome people from all over the region to come and use sports. One of the comments I hear again and again from the voters of Ward 3 is what a waste this is and how disappointed. And I'm proud to say under Mayor Solomon, when I went to him when he first came in as mayor, I told him one of the top 4 things, as I passed on also to Mayor-elect Picozzi on November 30th. One of the top things that I want to have done, I want to see go through, is the upgrades and the completion of Mickey Stevens, where that can once again become a shining. We already have the businesses there. We already have the infrastructure. We just need now the sports complex in that area, just like with Oakland Beach, that we can develop and bring it back to another way to bring back the community and bring in economic development. So I can't thank Speaker-elect Joe Sakarchi, Representative District 23, enough for securing that and bringing that into Warwick. And then finally, I would like to say that, Mr. President, one of the things I'd like us to discuss in the future, and I'm saying this to all, I'd like to see if we can have the water department. I'm sure all of us have gotten numerous phone calls on why the bills were so high. And one of the things I think maybe would be worth talking about is maybe having someone, a representative from the water department, come in and speak to us on that. And I just want to inform the rest of the council that I plan on docketing at the end of this meeting that to happen. Mr. President, thank you so much for this extended time, and thank you for your service to our city and Councilman Corley.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman McAllister.
Thank you very much. I also would like to thank Councilman Marola for his 22 years of service on the city council. This is a big responsibility, and to do it for 22 years, just to put that in perspective, Councilman, you were my councilman when I was in high school. And so I'm not calling you old or anything. I'm just letting you know, you've been doing this for a long time. So congratulations to you, Councilman Corley. It has been great serving with you these last 4 years as well. Thank you for your service to the city of Warwick. And I know that you were serving the city before that as well. I believe you were on the zoning or the planning board before that as well. So I just want to thank both of you for your service to the great city of Warwick. Thank you.
Thank you. I just also was remiss as we are thanking people that are leaving office to thank Mayor Solomon also for his service. He started on the council 2 years after me. Obviously, he's served for almost 3 years now as the mayor. This is my last opportunity to publicly thank him for his years of service to the city of Warwick. And I wish him well in his future endeavors also. Councilman Ricks.
Council President, Councilman Corley, it's been an honor to serve with you both these last 4 years. And likewise to Mayor Solomon, it was an honor to serve with you on the city council as well as after you were elected mayor. General announcement, I'd like to give a congratulations to a local Dunkin' Donuts that recently reopened in Ward 2. We are back to having 3 Dunkins in Ward 2, and by my count, 19 Dunkins in the city of Warwick. So that recently reopened Dunkin' is the one on the Cranston line on Elmwood Ave. Beyond that, want to make sure to thank the police department and fire department for all of their work making the holidays brighter this holiday for so many here in Warwick, and give a belated Happy Hanukkah and an early Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, and Happy Holidays. Thank you.
Sorry, Councilwoman Travis.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. I also want to thank you for the 22-year service that you have. I know we had some good times, some bad times, but I remember when you first got elected, I was very excited because at that time it was Mayor Chafee, and I told you I was at the bottom of the totem pole, and when you came in, you pushed me up a notch, so that made me feel good, you know, because I know he was disliking you more than he disliked me at the time. But I always respected the fact that you always thought of the budget was a year-round thing. It wasn't just at June or when we were doing budgets. You always talked about, every meeting we talked budgets. We made all those cuts we made. Term limits. Term limits was every 2 years. When you always mention that also. Yeah, I respected the hard work you put in with the airport, for the taxpayers, for the schools. And I apologize because I did request a proclamation and it's not here to talk about all the good things you have done in the 22 years we served together. And even talked about your football, the toll gate, when you were serving on the football team. But it was a fast 22 years, I think. I don't think people realize how many, when the years go by and you say, wow, they were there so long, they go by fast. And I appreciate all the hard work you did put in for the city of Warwick. I wish you well in whatever you do from here on. Same thing with Mr. Corley. Rick, it's been an honor working with you also for the 4 years we worked together. I know we had some really good interests on some of the substance abuse issues. We had some good talks. I wish you well in whatever you do. And I probably the only opportunity to say Merry Christmas to everybody. But I also want to thank, Jonah just did this weekend our holiday baskets in our toy drive. And I want to thank the Warwick Police Department. And this has been a tough year because a lot of agencies that used to help us couldn't help us this year. But the Warwick Police Department, the Greenwood Community Church, Rhode Island Traffic Tribunal, and Don Rodriguez Karate, they gave us a bunch of stuff. We served over 125 kids, made them a little better, happy Christmas for them, and their families were so grateful. And I want to thank Timmy for bringing up about Representative Joe Sakachi. That was wonderful. So again, Mr. President, I wish you the best.
Thank you. Councilman Lattisaw. You're on mute, Councilman.
So I'll jump in ahead of Councilman Corley, I guess. Councilman Corley, I also want to congratulate you and thank you on your service on the city council. I've always found your ability to analyze the issues and really dig into the substance of things, and particularly the conclusions that you were able to present to us on some of the more difficult issues, particularly issues that we were dealing with several years ago with the school department and other areas, and your abilities to really get into the nuts and bolts of things. And I've always had a strong respect for that and how you came about doing these conclusions. I remember sitting in many zoning board meetings with you, and as a rule, you would make motions, and your motions are always very, very detailed, certainly leaving no questions to the reason for your conclusions. And I know I'm speaking for all of my colleagues when I say we're going to miss that amongst all of your other assets. You're certainly a person of your word. When you give your word, you keep your word. And all the best to you going forward, Councilman Corley. It's been a pleasure serving with you.
Thank you. Councilman Corley.
Thank you all for the kind words. When Donna brought up football, I was thinking back to when I played football at Warwick Vets in 1973. And we were the only Warwick Vets football team to win the Class A Lodge Championship during its existence. The year before, we had won 3 games, and the next year we flipped our schedule around and won all those games. And it was a ragtag team that overachieved. It was fun. It was fun to be part of, and my teammates gave me the honor of being voted the most valuable player. And I was thinking about that when we were talking about the schools issues and closing of the sports programs, because I am convinced that my experience playing high school football and being a scholar athlete helped, form my entire life. And I was very proud that when we were able, through the cooperation of everybody, I remember Councilman Sinapi coming up with some suggestions to get that settlement between the council and the city straightened out so that the kids could have the full experience of high school. I'm proud of that. That was something that I found to be a rewarding experience, and it just so happened that the high school teams we had at the time had some pretty good success, and in the couple of years afterwards, they've continued that success. And that's something that in this COVID world is sad to see students deprived of those opportunities. One group of people that I ran into being on the council is the people that work at City Hall. The clerks that have worked for us, both of the Lynns, I found to be very devoted public servants, and I would go out of my way to thank them for their service whenever I saw them, because they, when we turn off Zooms, they go back and they have to do a lot more paperwork, and they had to do a lot of things in order to get these binders in front of us. And, maybe another 4 or 6 years that I could learn how to actually navigate my way through the binder in a organized way. But I do appreciate the staff that we have and everything that Joanne has done to make our job easier. Because I don't know if the public realizes that, when I got elected, I received a business card that said I was a councilman. Other than that, we each share Joanne as our liaison, but it is all the time that you spend individually in order to become knowledgeable about the issues. And I tried to do that. I tried to find out how the government actually ran. During the first month I was here, I went down into the basement and I met with Ernie Zielinski, who was in finance at the time, and asked him to start pulling some, show me how you did this finances. And he pulled out a piece of paper and called this a warrant. I looked at it, I said, "That's not a warrant, that's a bill." He said, "Well, and in our terminology, it's a warrant." I said, "Warrants in my line of work means handcuffs." So then he asked, I went and I checked through it, and I asked him to pull a few. I wanted to see what they looked like and compare them. And he said he was doing doing what I asked. And then I looked, I said, "You looked perplexed or something." I said, "No." He said, "It's not that. It's just that I have never, ever been asked for this information before by anyone on the city council on any of the places I've ever worked." He said, "This is a good thing." And I did actually find an anomaly between two of the ones, and I said, you gotta check into this. There's something wrong here. He said, it looks like we didn't pay something and we got credit for it. I said, even though I don't think the vendor needs the money, I think you should do the right thing. And he did call me back and explain what had happened. But it has been an up and down experience. I have a newfound awareness of the personal time that anyone who steps up to run for office spends. I've been around it for a while, but to actually have it control my life and know that it's taken time away from some family events, it's part of public service. I'm older now. My kids are adults. I have the grandchildren now. And it is for them that I try to do positive things. And I think every time we had an argument or a discussion on the city council, it wasn't because of anyone having a bias against something. It was because the individual councilman, councilwoman was trying to make that piece of city work, whether it was a bill or a contract or a sports field, school, just a better piece of government that we could provide for our citizens. It was not personalities. And when I disagreed, I had no problem being on the losing end of a vote. One of the persons that I was very pleased to have become friends with, who's not here tonight, but was Joe Gallucci. I love Joe. And Joe always told me, says, you never want to be on the losing end of a vote. And I understand there is a political reason, because you can always bring it back for a revote. But I didn't mind if I was on the minority view of an issue. If that's the way I felt it was, that's the way I was going to vote. And it was because I thought it was the right thing. And I think that everyone else that was voting because they thought it was the right thing. Sometimes it gets heated. Sometimes people, we're humans, we make mistakes. But I don't ever think that it was because of anyone's personal differences with something that was the way something turned out. It's been a tumultuous 4 years. I served during the term of the president I find to be, least of my liking of the ones that I've had since I've been alive. But that is over, and it was hard serving in Ward 1 when the sewers were being put in, because we were living in a construction zone. And now working in the COVID time is difficult. And I've recently tested positive, and I've been under isolation for more than a week now. It's something that is a very difficult problem. Fortunately, I think I'm asymptomatic. I don't feel bad. My son's been dealing with some other things, but that's our business. He's going to be okay. He's a young, strong guy. But it's still something that shakes your confidence in things. When you're facing issues that are totally out of my control, that's not a place where I like to be. No matter how much research I do on that end, I can't control that. And that makes it difficult. But it has been an honor to serve with you, and I hope that the city goes forward and next year is much better than the year of perfect vision, 2020. 2020 certainly may be a good eye prescription, but it certainly has not been the past year to live through. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's nothing else under general communications, we'll move to the acceptance of the minutes from council meeting held on November 4th, 2020. Somebody could make a motion to accept the minutes of the meeting. A motion by Councilman Lattisaw, seconded by Councilman Ricks, Councilman Corley. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Next item is the acceptance of the minutes from the meeting of December 7th, 2020. Could I have a motion?
Have a motion.
Motion made by Councilwoman Travis, seconded by Councilman Ricks, Councilman Foster, Councilman Lattisaw. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it, and it stands passed. We'll move to public comment, Rule 41. After the general communications and prior to consent calendar at each council public meeting, there shall be a 15-minute period during which citizens may comment about Warwick City government issues subject to following stipulations. The total period of time for public comment shall be 15 minutes. Comments need to be brief in order to allow as many citizens as possible to participate. The topics for comment shall be issues directly affecting city government. City council members will not respond to questions during the public comment period. The public comment session will terminate at the expiration of 15 minutes. Waiver of this provision is by unanimous consent. Phil, do we have any members of the public?
If anyone would like to speak at this point in time, please raise your hand. If you're on a phone only, it would be *9. If you're using the Zoom app, it would be the raise hand. Mr. President, at this time, we do not have any hands raised.
Okay. Phil, I know that we're going to move on now to announcement of appointments. And I believe that we received an email from the administration today announcing appointments. And I am trying to find, I was at work today and did not have an opportunity to print them off. Councilman McAllister, would you happen to have those, the announcement of appointments?
Yes, I'm gonna pull it up here, right here. Hold on one second, please.
Did that come from?
I got it, came this afternoon from the city clerk. She sent it to us at 3:44. To the honorable members of the Warwick City Council from Mayor Joseph J. Solomon, December 21st, 2020, appointment, announcement of appointments.
Okay.
I'd first like,
I found them. This is the, thank you for pointing out what time it came in. And these are announcement of appointments. I don't believe, and I checked with Attorney Conley on this, I don't believe that any of these require confirmation. Have you had a chance to look at these, Attorney Conley?
I have not. I did not have an opportunity. I didn't see the email.
It's the reappointment of James Paolucci to the Board of Public Safety with a term to expire on January 1st, 2023. The reappointment of Thomas McGovern to the Board of Public Safety with a term to expire January 1st, 2024. The reappointment of Philip Slocum to the Warwick Planning Board with a term to expire January 31st, 2025. The appointment of Michael Penta to the Warwick Planning Board with a term to expire on January 31st, 2024. Vice Wayne Hemman, who has resigned his position. There's a, says, as mayor and as a former city council colleague of so many of you over my past 2 decades of public service, it has been a pleasure working with each and every one of you. I am proud of the many initiatives and policies that we have implemented and appreciate the collaboration we have had over the years. I offer you my heartfelt best wishes for continued success and hope that you and your families have a joyous and memorable holiday season and a new year filled with good health and happiness. So again, this is an announcement of appointment. It does not require council confirmation. I know that there was some discussion in the appointments committee about positions that do require confirmation, and when those need to go on the docket. So like I said, I did not have a chance to review this. This came in at 3:45 today, and the council meeting started at 5. With that said, I guess that was an amendment to this calendar. Appointments requiring confirmation we'll move to, and the first item is the sewer authority. And then there's several members of the zoning committee. My understanding is, and I'll defer to the chairman of the appointments committee on this. I don't know that there's any recommendations. My understanding from listening to the meeting is that Rule 32 requires appointments requiring confirmation to be put on at the business meeting, which is the first meeting of the month. Is that what happened in committee, or I defer to the chair of the appointments?
Yes, Mr. President. Yes, Mr. President. That is what happened in committee.
Okay. So I'm going to defer to Attorney Conley at this point. Do these have to be submitted for the first business calendar in January procedurally?
No, Mr. President, those matters are not properly before you this evening, before the council pursuant to Rule 32. So the council should not take any action at this time.
Okay, and so, okay. Very good. All right, so we'll move on to the consent calendar, PCR 12120, resolution relative to bids, committee report, finance.
Committee recommends favorable action.
For action, Councilman Lattiser.
Favorable action on PCR 121-20.
Seconded by Councilman McAllister and Councilman Howe. Go ahead, Councilman.
Thank you. First item, 2020-089, favorable, HVAC maintenance and repairs, favorable action. 2021-188, pipe fittings and valves has become PCR 122-20. 2021-189, Neptune cold water meters has become 123-20. 2021-198, police breast hat badges is favorable action. 2021-230, purchase used Ford SUVs, favorable action. 2021-231, auto body repairs, favorable action. 2021-232, automobile repair, favorable action. 2021-233 has become PCR 124-20.
Okay, that's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the Finance Committee consent calendar that was not already had in the Finance Committee? If not, the items removed, I'm just going to defer to Councilor Walsh. That was consent calendar, bid 20. There was 3 items, 3 bids removed.
Yes, Mr. President. As noted by the Finance Chair, there are 5 items that remain on the Finance Committee consent calendar that was moved and seconded, and 3 items removed. those bids have all been assigned separate PCR, so we can have a vote first on the consent calendar, which only has bids this evening first.
Okay. So there's no discussion. A yes is to approve, and the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Marola,
Yes.
Mr. Corley,
Yeah.
Mr. Howe,
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser,
Yes.
Mr. McAllister,
Yes.
Mr. McElroy,
Yes.
Mr. Ricks,
Yes.
Mr. Sinapi,
Yes.
Ms. Travis.
Yes.
9 yes, consent passes.
It passes. We'll move on to unfinished business, since the 3 items have already been removed and held.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Just for Lynn and the record, the 3 items removed, the first was bid 2021-188, which has become PCR 122-20 with a recommendation to hold until January 20th.
And the second item?
The second item is bid 2021-189, which has become PCR 123-20 with a recommendation to hold until January 20th.
And the third item?
The third item is bid 2021-233, which has become PCR 124-20 with a recommendation of favorable action and an amendment.
Yes,
Okay, so we're going to move that then.
correct.
Okay, so Councilman Lattiser, if you could, I'll ask for the committee report, finance.
Okay, on PCR 122-20, committee recommends holding till January 20th.
And that's bid 2021-188.
That's
No.
correct. Yes.
I mean, was, okay, and number 2, just to,
Number 2 was item 2021-189, Neptune cold water meters, has become PCR 123-20. Also a recommendation to hold to January 20th.
and the third item?
Third item was item 2021-233, additional vendor OEM parts. The amendment was to eliminate the request, the monetary request of $5,000. The amount would be included in the $75,000 as designated in 2021-108, and it would give the department the authority to purchase these parts from Tasker that they cannot buy from factory auto parts.
Okay, so on PCR 124-20, the recommendation is favorable action with an amendment, and you're
Right.
now moving it for favorable action, and it's seconded by Councilman McAllister and Councilman Howe. Are you seconding? No? Okay.
Yes.
Councilman Howe. Okay. Do you want to move the amendment, Councilman?
Yes, move the amendment as stated.
Okay, seconded by Councilman McAllister, Councilman Howe. Any questions on the amendment? Any questions on the amendment? If not, a yes is to approve, and the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Marola,
Yes.
Mr. Corley,
Yes.
Mr. Howe,
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser,
Yes.
Mr. McAllister,
Yes.
Mr. McElroy,
Yes.
Mr. Ricks,
Yes.
Mr. Sinapi,
Yes.
Ms. Travis.
Yes.
9 yes as to amend.
Okay, Councilman Lattiser, if you could move it as amended.
Move favorable action on PCR 124-20 as amended.
Seconded by
Seconded.
Councilman McAllister, Councilman Howe. Any discussion as amended? If not, the clerk will call the roll. A yes is to approve.
Mr. Marola,
Yes.
Mr. Corley,
Yes.
Mr. Howe,
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser,
Yes.
Mr. McAllister,
Yes.
Mr. McElroy,
Yes.
Mr. Ricks,
Yes.
Mr. Sinapi,
Yes.
Ms. Travis.
Yes.
9 yes as amended.
Okay, it stands passed as amended. We'll move to unfinished business. PCO 1019, an ordinance in regard to water discharge. That's Councilman Lattiser, Councilwoman Travis, Councilman McElroy, Councilman McAllister, and Councilman Sinapi. First passage, it's not drafted. Committee report ordinance.
Hold to March 8th.
Held till March 8th. Next item is PCO 3019, an ordinance involving state law regarding underutilized commercial property. That's Councilman Sinapi. It's first passage. It's not drafted. Committee report, public properties.
Recommend hold to January 20th, 2021.
Held till January 20th. Next item, PCR 19619, a resolution to the General Assembly for additional funding for Warwick Public Schools. That's my legislation. It's not drafted. That will change over now to Councilman-elect Gephardt. And that's committee report intergovernmental.
January 20th, 2021.
Held till January 20. Next item is PCR 2820, resolution supporting codification of the cancer presumption by the General Assembly. That's Councilman Sinapi. It's not drafted. Committee report intergovernmental.
It was withdrawn because Councilman Sinapi said that the General Assembly has already dealt with this issue.
Okay, for action, Councilman Sinapi.
Move the withdrawal.
Seconded by
Second.
Councilman Ricks, Councilman McAllister, Councilman Howe. Any discussion on the motion to withdraw? If not, a yes is to approve, and the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Marola,
Yes.
Mr. Corley,
Yes.
Mr. Howe,
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser,
Yes.
Mr. McAllister,
Yes.
Mr. McElroy, Mr. Ricks,
Yes.
Mr. Sinapi,
Yes.
Ms. Travis.
Yes.
9 yes to withdraw.
PCR 2820 is withdrawn. Next item on the agenda is PCR 4020, a resolution in regards to amending the city council rules. Councilman Sinapi, that's not drafted. Committee report intergovernmental.
It was continued to January 6th.
Held till January 6th. Next item on the agenda is PCR 6820, a resolution relative to claims. Mark Poole, that's Councilman Sinapi. Committee report, public safety.
Committee recommends favorable action.
For action, Councilman Sinapi.
I move favorable action in the amount of $1,262.69.
Seconded by Councilman Howe. And Councilman Ricks. Any discussion on this that we didn't already have in committee? Okay, a yes is to approve the claim of Mark Hoole in the amount of $1,262.69, and the clerk will call a roll.
Mr. Marola,
Yes.
Mr. Corley,
Yes.
Mr. Howe,
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser,
Yes.
Mr. McAllister,
Yes.
Mr. McElroy,
Yes.
Mr. Ricks,
Yes.
Mr. Sinapi,
Yes.
Ms. Travis.
Yes.
9 yes to approve the claim.
PCR 6820 stands passed. Next item is PCR 9720, resolution regarding ratification of the Cooper Building lease. Councilman Sinapi, committee report, finance.
Hold January 20th.
Held till January 20th. Next item on the agenda is PCR 2820, a resolution supporting codification. Oh, I just read that. Next item is PCR 11020, now 2021-149, health and dental insurance consultant. Committee report, finance.
Committee recommended favorable action.
For action, Councilman Lattiser.
Move favorable action on PCR 110-20.
Seconded by Councilman McAllister, Councilman Howe. Any discussion that we have not had in committee on this? This is to hire a consultant to give the council and the mayor advice on health insurance. If not, a yes is to approve, and the clerk will call the roll.
Marola,
Yes.
Mr. Corley,
Yes.
Mr. Howe,
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser,
Yes.
Mr. McAllister,
Yes.
Mr. McElroy,
Yes.
Mr. Ricks,
Yes.
Mr. Sinapi,
Yes.
Ms. Travis.
Yes.
9 yes.
Okay, PCR 110/2021-149 stands passed. Next item is PCR 111/20, now 2021-176, Rescue Service Billing Administrator. Committee report, Finance.
Committee recommends favorable action.
For action, Councilman Lattiser.
Favorable action on PCR 111-20.
Seconded by Councilman Howe, Councilman McAllister. Any discussion on the Rescue Service Billing Administrator? If not, a yes is to approve, and the clerk will call the roll.
Corolla,
Yes.
Mr. Corley,
Yes.
Mr. Howe,
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser,
Yes.
McAllister,
Yes.
Mr. McElroy,
Yes.
Mr. Ricks,
Yes.
Mr. Sinapi,
Yes.
Ms. Travis.
Yes.
9 yes.
Okay, PCR 111/20, now 2021-176 stands pass. We'll move to unanimous consent. Ward 1, anything for unanimous consent? Pass. Ward 2,
Pass.
Ward 3,
Pass.
Ward 4,
Pass.
Ward 5,
Pass.
Ward 6,
Pass.
Ward 7,
Pass.
Ward 8,
Pass.
and Ward 9 passes. Councilwoman Travis.
If there be no further business of this honorable body, I move to a docket session.
Councilwoman Travis moves to the docket session. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Council stands now in the docket session. Ward 1, anything to docket?
Now.
Pass. Ward 2,
2 items. The first one, I would suggest the Intergovernmental Committee.
okay.
It is a resolution entitled, "A Resolution to Discuss Recommendations of the Chapter 4 Commission, PCR 36-19, relative to Chapter 4 of the Warwick Code of Ordinances entitled Animals and Fowl."
Intergovernmental.
The second that I would suggest to the Ordnance Committee is an ordinance entitled Omnibus Reforms, Updates, and Amendments to Chapter 4 of the Warwick Code of Ordinances entitled Animals and Fowl.
Did you say it was an ordinance?
Ordinance, yes.
Okay, so we'll put that in ordinance. Okay, anything else?
That's
okay. Ward 3, anything to docket?
One item, Mr. President, an ordinance, modernization of public safety equipment.
Modernization of, we'll put that under intergovernmental. Anything else from Ward 3?
No. Pass.
Ward 4,
Pass.
Ward 5,
Pass.
Ward 6,
Pass.
Ward 7.
I have one with a co-sponsor of Councilman Sinapi, a resolution from the Warwick City Council to the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management in support of the City of Warwick's submission to the 2021 Recreational Trail Grant Program.
Intergovernmental. Anything else from Ward 7?
That
Ward
is
8.
it.
I had
Okay.
2 docket memos from Councilwoman Travis.
Okay, Councilwoman Travis. Well, you have 2.
Oh, that's right. Oh my God, I have it written down somewhere.
Lynn, could you read those if you
Yes,
have them?
please.
All right, let me pull them up. Hang on, give me 1 second.
Sure.
I did bring them with me over here.
Lynn, I have them if you need them.
Yeah, but you don't, yeah, because I
Joanne,
didn't bring them with me over here.
Joanne, could you read them?
Joanne, do you
Okay.
have them? Okay.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
If you could read the first one.
Yep. It's a resolution in regards to omnibus congratulations and condolences.
Okay, we combined that committee, isn't that,
Correct, community affair. Oop,
Community
sorry,
Affairs? Yeah, Community Affairs is with,
public properties, land
Public-
use and community, yeah.
okay, we'll put that in Public Properties.
And we have an omnibus resolution of traffic studies.
That'll go to Public Safety.
And that's it.
Okay, so 6, 7, already did, 8, Ward 8, anything?
Just one resolution from the Warwick City Council to the Rhode Island Department of Transportation and the Rhode Island Public Transit Authority regarding the proposed bus stop on Greenwich Avenue.
Intergovernmental. Ward 9 passes. Have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and good luck in the new year.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas. Good luck to you.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Merry Christmas all.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Bye, everyone.